Hey guys, so I haven't played a bleed build in quite some time, and one of my viewer, Lagane, kind of convinced me to check Perforate, the Transfigure gem, Perforate of Bloodshed. Essentially, it doesn't have the stance different bonuses, it always is in a blood stance, and it doesn't lose damage per spike, and it does have a more damage with bleeding multiplier. And why does that sound like interesting? Because in the blood stance you create multiple spikes per attack, and with the Crimson Dance you essentially can ramp up Crimson Dance very quickly. And by ramp up I mean not just to 8 bleed stacks, but you can also override small bleeds with stronger bleeds and then refresh all the bleed duration until pretty much all 8 bleeds are the strongest we could be. It does play pretty well, like one tapping enemies feels kind of nice, but I planned the build, the numbers looked good, like around 5 million bleed DPS, and the tankiness was kind of okay-ish, but when I started playing it just, I don't know, I guess I just didn't really enjoy it very much. When it comes to juiced up Wildwood empowered monsters, I think 5 million damage over time is a bit too low. Sometimes you kind of stand still face tank for 10 seconds non-stop until the enemy dies, or sometimes it's not even enough. To me it didn't really feel that great. It feels great, and I will show side-by-side comparison running Minotaur. I had identical Minotaur map, and one map I ran non-juiced up, no Wildwood. I wanted to compare the boss damage, if it's empowered and when it's not, and also like clearing. Clearing without empowered enemies feels great, no issues pretty much. But once you empower enemies with a couple thousand Wildwood wisps, it becomes, some enemies just become so tanky, so much scarier, but it's just not very pleasant with only 5 million bleed DPS. This is also Gladiator. Many people would say Gladiator needs a rework. It's kind of meh Ascendancy. I don't know, to me it still seems kind of okay Ascendancy. You do get a lot of speed from Challenger charges because it gives you more attack speed and more movement speed. So if you already have decent movement speed, you can become pretty fast with this. And for that reason I also wanted to kind of not really maximize the speed, but get enough speed. So I'm running Ralakesh Impatience boots, I have corrupted ones, but I do also have 12 empty sockets. So my helmet, gloves and boots, it doesn't have any gems inside it, because this is a Warden Ascendancy, which does give me an extra 50% all LRS, 25% increased maximum life and 30% movement speed. So that way I can get a pretty decent movement speed. I also get Onslaught, then the Quicksilver. I don't have Balbala, so it's not very sustainable. I was thinking maybe this could be good lab runner, but lab sometimes doesn't have enough monsters and you lose Challenger charges. You sometimes run out of Quicksilver Flask if you get lost, and it just doesn't feel that great. I think for lab running you would want more permanent movement speed. What is the gimmick of this build, let's say? Does it even have a gimmick? I don't know. I'm using, for the defenses, I actually don't really have much armor, because I'm not running Determination, but in order to get physical mitigation, obviously Ralakesh Impatience boots, I have 6 endurance charges. I do have positive heals resistance. I do have mitigation because of the Gladiator, 10% mitigation while at maximum endurance charges, which is always because of Ralakesh. I also have Doppelganger, which mitigates physical and chaos hits and damage over time. It also gives me regen. And I'm also running Defiance of Destiny, which recovers life before the hit. It feels great for the most part, but I don't have spell suppression. There's just no way I could have squeezed in spell suppression. However, I would say this build is kind of pretty simple, because I only have gems in my weapon and in my body armor, which doesn't need to be 6 linked. I just happen to have it 6 linked, and yeah, and also I have it corrupted because I was trying to get Mana of Color, but I wouldn't use Leap Slam. I would probably use Dash. Leap Slam feels like really bad with this build. I can pretty much run faster than Leap Slam, so it just does not feel great. Dash would just feel better. Now, okay, one cool thing about this build is that I can use like really poorly rolled Ryslatha's Coil. I do one good maximum roll, but less minimum doesn't really matter, because I also use Volatility support, which also has that less minimum and more maximum. Now the reason why this doesn't really matter is that, like I said, I can refresh bleed, and if I apply 8 bleeds and some of them are weak bleeds, and then I apply a stronger bleed, that stronger bleed will override one of the weaker bleeds. And you essentially repeat this cycle until you have 8 strong bleeds. So it doesn't matter that you are hitting from low damage to high damage, because all of your 8 bleeds are gonna end up being high damage bleeds. So the status quo worked really well. And yes, you could do the charge belt shenanigans, but then you would have to actually generate frenzy charges. Why worry about that? The damage is pretty similar, and with Ryslatha you do end up, I believe, with a bit more life. The weapon, I believe I paid 1 divine. It looked almost perfect until I slammed Exile twice. You can kind of guess which modifiers I managed to get myself. But yeah, the weapons can be like very random prices, from like 300 divines to 1 divine. I went with axes because, well, mainly because this axe. And also I do like the axe nodes more. Bleed you and flick deal damage faster. You also get more maximum rage. I actually initially thought I'm gonna be using rage to get like even more speed, but I was planning on using Tincture to generate rage, but I completely forgot that Tincture only works against rares and uniques. Even if I'm hitting like multiple times per attack, I'm still not able to ramp up rage very quickly, so I just dropped that idea. So now my Tincture is chance to refresh bleed on hit and then gain onslaught for 10 seconds on killing blow. So because it's on killing blow, it's not gonna work if enemies die to bleed, so you still have to kind of hit enemies to kill them. So if you got Killing Strike, it's more likely you're gonna end up killing enemies with a hit rather than bleed and get that onslaught. Circle of Guilds, I did even Catalyst, but it was really not worth catalysting them. Ryslatha's Coil, by the way, also catalyst with attack modifiers. That way you get more maximum damage and more minimum damage, which is bad, but for this build it doesn't really matter. I am using the Adorn Jewel, but the only reason is that I wanted to get more life per jewel socket. That is all. I don't really get much damage from the Adorn. I do, but then again, I could just use a rare jewels with like double damage modifiers instead of a single damage modifier and pretty much get similar damage, but I would have less life. So if I were to remove Adorned, I don't lose much. As you can see, I don't lose much damage, but I do lose quite a bit of life. I'm not sure about the AoE. The spikes kind of go all around the place. I really don't like how they are so random. It's kind of hard to predict how many overlaps you get against the boss, but I set up 5 in here, but it doesn't really matter. I can set up 6. This damage is actually a bit lower than in practice because it's not calculating all the bleeds as maximum damage. I guess I would have to use this one. I think around 5 million DPS would be a bit more accurate. I am getting these points. I don't even have the last point, but this one actually doesn't really give me all that much because all I'm getting is increasing the chance of getting onslaught and of refreshing bleeding. I'm also not sure if it refreshes one bleed or all bleeds. If someone knows, let me know in the comments below. Do you refresh all bleeds or just one bleed with this tincture? I was thinking of using something like this maybe, that way I would have more damage, but then again, refreshing bleeds also means that in the longer fights I can guarantee to have the strongest bleeds, 8 strongest bleeds, and that's probably better for clearing and for bossing than this one, because this one would be boosted by 150% because I have 2 empty flash slots, although you don't need 2 empty flash slots. You don't even need a single empty flash slot because I don't have Balbala Traitor. Like, chances are fine. You don't need much chance to get onslaught or refresh bleeding. But this one would give more damage against enemies on low life. However, you don't really gain anything if enemies are not on low life. So for clear speed it feels like this one is not as good. It's kind of hard to tell. So you could end up just adding 2 more flasks, like maybe granite or basalt or something else like amethyst flask. The Pantheon powers, I did take this one, avoid being frozen. That's like the first thing you have to get until you get enough life pool, and then I usually just get a reduced effect of shock if I don't get ailment avoidance or ailment immunity. If you can figure out how to get more resistances or life, you could actually add a couple other things like maybe steel skin, maybe link maim to flesh and stone, maybe add banner if you can get enough reservation efficiency. So yeah, I'm gonna leave Path of Building import code. The next build, I kind of decided I'm gonna finally start Viper Stack of Mamba. I saw ZGD's video, I saw it. It looked really cool, like big poison damage, but only 1 poison. And the poison proliferation just looks so good when it stacks on one tough target. Yeah, I think I'm gonna be doing Mamba, which is gonna be expensive because it has many expensive pieces, because even Val Breach, which is like really amazing for bossing, costs like 17 divines. So we'll see how that goes. For now, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.